Hola, hello. I just got done with class and I had my normal amount of coffee, but class got out at noon today, so I'm pumped, ready to go. And I'd want to do this video before the neighborhood kids start screaming and yelling using the pool and everything. Behind me, you might see a sign. This is what we call affirmations in our classroom, and the kids know about it for the week. They have to pretty much write what they think it means in their own terms as an assignment, and it works for today's topic, which is all about growth. Okay, so the teacher that I work with, her and I have a hobby. Not a lot of people have this hobby, and it's plants. One of my jobs in the classroom is to spray the plants when they get bugs. So I'm just holding my plant for some reason right now. Here's ivy. Okay, so the point is, if your plant gets bugs on it, is it suddenly your fault as a gardener? No. So you deal with the situation and the problem. That's how you should treat things in your life. Things happen, problems arise. It doesn't mean that you're a horrible person or bad. It just means, and here's what we're going to learn today, because I use a whiteboard for my classes. And I just realized everything is backwards. So, oops. Okay, so all you have to do when you have problems in your life, you don't decide to kill the plant. You just fix the problem slowly, little by little. These are supposed to be bugs. They're not wiping up. Okay. So every color that you see here is going to be a different topic, 8 topics altogether. And someone had mentioned to me recently that they wanted to live by themselves, and they thought they were selfish and mean and rude, specifically as well to me. And I wanted to explain to them, it's not selfish. I know it seems like it's hurting me, but because of relationship stuff, but it's not. And just like plants, it's all about growth. Okay, so when you go to the store, you might find green onions. And with my preschoolers, when I was a preschool teacher, because right now I'm 4th grade, I called this a magic plant, but I didn't call this a magic plant. In fact, I called this portion, the white part, when you cut it off, it's almost done. That's the magic parts. You've used up your cooking ingredients, and now you're left with the stubs. You're going to throw it away. And sometimes it happens in our life. We get burnt out. We give little bits of ourselves to different projects, different people, different times, and eventually we feel like there's nothing left. So what happens is you can stick it in water so you can see where I used it, and then I cut it, and you can still grow. So the store-bought, you can see the roots are short and dried out because it's been in my refrigerator. The one that I had grown in front of my window for 2 weeks is actually grown to the fact that you could still use it now. That's how you should be thinking of yourself. That you're not done, you are enough, and you are magic. And if you can't read the backwards sign, at least what I can see is backwards, it says, honesty builds trust and respect. So today I'm going to touch on that because I want you to be in tune with what's going on with you and your feelings and be honest about it so that you can build trust and also respect within yourself. It doesn't just mean other people. So the first thing was growth from cuts equals your magic. That's my point. There is a story, I use the app Calm, about these Tibetan, in Tibet, they had this statue that was very prized. It was used and stuck around for many years. And one summer it got really hot and dry, and the statue that was made of clay and other things, it cracked. And for some reason, the monks noticed that for some reason the statue wasn't crumbling. So one of them decided to discover a little bit more about it, looked at it, realized something was shiny there. The monks had realized that underneath this statue of clay and mud and all this stuff was gold. And the idea that they ended up stripping it so that there was a gold statue. Now it's the biggest gold statue of the Buddha in Tibet. The idea is basically that there is gold and magic within yourselves that is strong and it's durable. And sometimes we build layers outside of ourselves to protect ourselves. But when we start to have labels of who we are, oh, I'm only a student. Oh, I'm really good at math. Then we start to put layers on ourselves. if you have something such as religion, you might feel that things like self-love, self-care, self-compassion, you've heard this stuff before, but the whole idea is to do it to other people. Be productive in your life by providing and giving and being nice. There's a story of a woman who was in therapy, and the therapist asked her what she was, who she was, and she gave all the stuff, and the therapist had said, well, those are things that you provide for people, but who are you? So this idea is that you need self-love. So my little heart. So my whole thing is bugs that happen to you, the stress that happens to you, the things that happen to you, you can deal with it. You just have to learn how to handle and manage and get rid of it. It's not all hope lost. Bugs and like basically your life happens, and don't blame yourself. So again, it's not rude, it's not hurtful, it's not selfish to have love for yourself, but this also means that we need to accept our feelings and have balance. And we're human. I tell that to my 4th grade class all the time. You're human, you're allowed mistakes, and also having boundaries. Now, a lot of people, I didn't make this video okay for kids, but a lot of this stuff, it should be taught in schools. And if you have healthy boundaries, like the kids that are outside right now might be really loud and playing and stuff, and I hang out with them. They'll knock on my door, see if I want to play, but I tell them my boundary of not hanging out anymore is 6 o'clock. The same thing with boundaries. If something isn't working for you, or someone's on your case, like, how come you're not going to the party? It requires a lot of your energy. And if you're someone that gives your best, then you're being asked to go all the time. And some people might belittle you, your emotions, your schedule, and you start to feel like you're less of a person. You start to label yourself negative things. So having those boundaries helps you, because it is a form of self-love. Things that we find out, like a lot of my friends, have discussed, well, I'm having this problem, and I decided to go to this person. I decided to talk to this person and see this person, or I discovered this. And a lot of the stuff is self-love with boundaries and being expressive, being honest with who you are, what you're going through. So, don't know why I laughed like that. All right, life is too short. A dying plant, how sad. You do you. And this might be a little hard to understand because we hear this phrase all the time. So what does it mean? It means to figure out who you are and what you are. And the reason I made this video, I started a voice memo and I was like, I'm just gonna make a video for everybody, not just this one person. That if you're going to live by yourself, to figure out who you are and what you're all about, and because you realize that you're not who you were in high school or junior high or elementary school, the best thing that I could provide as advice is to really live with that mindset. It is so easy for someone to say something to you and have them say something like, oh, don't you ever just have fun when you sing? Or like, why are you outside? Like, why aren't you inside with everybody else? That is how I got into hula hoop dancing. I am an introvert and I need to have my energy. And sometimes when I'm at a party, I just get so drained. I give it my all. And I'm also a very highly sensitive person, which means, this is my next point too, that when I'm at work, highly sensitive personality types are perfect for teachers, because you need to focus on what happens with a student if they're upset, if they're sad. Other teachers have told me before, like, how do you do it? You fix a problem before it ever happens, because we can see it start budding. Just empathy and putting yourself in their shoes enough to be sensitive enough to figure it out. But this also means that at parties, I can feel literally angry because this person over in the corner is angry. This person over in the corner is sad and stressed about work. This person over here is like happy but drunk. I get that energy and that vibe and the feeling, and I get drained. So my boundary that I've learned is it is normal for me to either help clean with the host or to take 10, 15 minutes or longer or so to myself to regain that energy. And one person, for an example, had gotten his head out and was like, what are you doing? Why are you not with the party? I was trying to hula hoop. I had seen someone do it before, didn't know how to do it. And, I was just trying to figure it out. And this person said I would never be able to do it. My first month hula hooping video should be dedicated to them. but they were so negative I didn't put that in the 1 month hooping video. But before I had a chance to see what this hobby was, what it was about, what you need to do it in order for me to even know if I like it, to call it my hobby, someone doubted me. And I don't know what it is about me. I like to prove doubters wrong. So a lot of people are like that too. And my point is, someone's outside talking on her phone right now, so hopefully you can't hear her conversation. That if you are by yourself, living by yourself, you have more of a chance to figure out what hobbies and things that you like to do. So for example, I tried to get into yoga, and I like yoga, I do. But when I did it with someone, I was like, I don't know if I like it. It's a little too slow for me. And they said, well, it's yoga. It's supposed to be slow. They weren't being rude or anything like that. It's just that their comment made me realize, okay, maybe I should like it. There's Bikram yoga, which is hot, and you got to focus on your body. There's really advanced yoga, which I would like because it's more stretches. There's monitored yoga, which is, if you're pregnant or, you're older or you have certain conditions. But for some reason, I still didn't like it. And when I wasn't in a situation anymore, for 1 month, I kept it up. It was great. It was flexible and all that stuff. But for some reason, I still wasn't as into it. Second month, I didn't finish the full 30 days. At home YouTube stuff. And, just trying to figure out life, I came across the app Calm, and I got it, first app I've bought, because someone from Game of Thrones was narrating sleep stories. Now, I've only listened to 5 sleep stories. Alice in Wonderland, The Wind in the Willows, The Purple Dragon, and like some other ones. I forget the other ones. But I really don't use it that much because I found the app has master classes, it has check-ins and things like that, and it has meditation. And I found that what worked for me, it was not listening to everybody else. Yoga is good, do it. It's mindfulness, do it. Was meditation for me. So now figuring out who I am and what I'm about without listening to people's comments or expectations, I was able to figure out that this is now a non-negotiable. So you do you basically means find something that you're not going to negotiate in your day. That's going to be like down here with schedules and routines. So I am all over the place right now. Feelings. All right. So some of the things that I have discovered this year. So if you're wondering where I'm getting all my information, there's a book called The Procrastination Equation, How to Stop Putting Things Off and Start Getting Stuff Done. There's emotional intelligence books, which you can get at Barnes & Noble. There are classes on the great courses. So the one I took was Nonverbal Communication, Make Stress Work for You by PhD Kimberly Bethany Bonuro. I've read the book Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. Science of Mindfulness, A Research-Based Path to Well-Being by Dr. Ronald D. Siegel. I've also done things like CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, how it's all in your head. YouTubers such as Dr. Ramani on YouTube, who's a psychologist, family therapy. I've looked at things such as love languages, attachment styles, Myers-Briggs, and there are a lot more. So for references, there you go. And one of the things that they keep coming up is feelings. We get stressed, and I have this other video, and sometimes we get so stressed that we can become depressed. And what happens when you get depressed is that, stay with me, say that you're riding a bike and you fall down. Now you're in a state of crying and being depressed. And you're trying to figure out from the past what you could do so that you're not depressed anymore. Oh, I just need to put my foot down at this time and pacing. Perfect, now you're riding the bike. Depression happens when you don't know what to do. You're trying to solve it and you're confused. And when someone says, you're a boy, that's a label. It's putting more coats on your gold statue self. You're not allowed to be confused. You're not allowed to cry. Well, that's what humans are. We're human. Have those feelings, admit it. If you admit what you're going through, you're more likely to tame it, name it to tame it. If you have anxiety, because it's, World Mental Health Awareness Day 3 days ago, it's the fact that you're trying to figure out how to fix the future because you didn't know how to fix the past. You're trying to be in the present moment, but maybe you feel like your life would be better if you had more control over everything. So understanding what you're going through is... My neighbor is cooking or something. I don't know what they're doing. They're banging on the wall or something. Anyway, okay. All right. Okay. So if you understand that emotion is not good or bad, and it's not right or wrong, it's just information. As someone just asked me what field I studied, my major is film and electronic arts, how we learn through media, how colors affect us, how if you're very close, you get very personal with someone and their emotions, but if you're far away, you're more focused on what's going on around you. And I was so interested in the psychology of this that a lot of my YouTubers were asking or recommending that I go into teaching. So couldn't hurt figuring out how to be a parent or a figure of authority of really confidence. And now I'm teaching, learning psychology to help you guys out as well. So thank you, Benjamin. But I got off topic again. That's perfect. That's great. Just admit that I did it. So if you admit that you're going through something like, I'm scared or kind of annoyed that there's banging, then you kind of just go on from it. The teacher I work with, she'll give me all these steps to do and say, do you got it? Do you understand it? And I'll be like, I think so. But it's probably my stress going, but I'll figure it out. I'm an adult. I got to figure it out. And she'll just kind of giggle and be like, yeah, I get that way too. Admitting it. And then, after I admitted it, I went to go get Post-its. You understand what your next step is instead of holding it in. If you hold your emotions in and you're not honest with yourself, then you start to have physical problems with you too. You start losing sleep. You start having skin conditions and problems. Maybe you have a loss of memory. So, I feel like I've covered all that stuff. If you are living by yourself, going into this further, it means that you're not going to be living with people's comments on you or their expectations, their labels, what they want you to do at certain times. Something I realized is that when I was living with someone, they're like screaming right now. All right. When I was living with someone, I would make my day off on Fridays be cleaning. But I didn't like using my day off to do that. And I started to get mad at the person that they weren't cleaning or they weren't cleaning as much as I was. So being able to be by myself, I learned that I still do that even if they weren't here. And I need to make my cleaning habit better. So if you were to live by yourself, is what I'm saying. If you live by yourself, then you understand what your schedule is. If there's something that doesn't work, then you're able to change it. If you have a roommate that's a friend, or you are living with someone that isn't a friend, you might hear comments or you might have them do their own way of things. And it doesn't give you a chance to figure out who you are and how you live and how things would work for you. Like my degree and major was always all classes, all the time at night. Like my roommate got so mad at me. She thought it was my fault that I was up until like 12 because my classes got out at 11. And I found out that I work best actually in the morning. So giving yourself that time to figure out what works in your normal, natural schedule. And I realized that if I wanted to change it, I needed to clean and do at least 2 chores a day. I'm still in the process of doing it. It's not easy, or it's just slow progress. So be yourself and figure out yourself. Do not listen to comments. Do not listen to people. In high school, I'm a middle kid. So I would try to do things to be the perfect student, be the perfect daughter, be the perfect whatever. I was labeling myself, covering myself so that I didn't know I had gold and magic in me. And I found out recently, in high school, that it didn't matter what I did. For some reason, I wasn't living up to someone's expectations, and they weren't happy with me. And I wasn't happy because I wasn't myself. And I finally figured out I don't care about making people happy. At the end of the day, if you can live with yourself, that's what counts. If you never meet someone to marry or to be best friends or whatever, as long as you can be your own best friend and marry yourself. And self-love, self-care, this is something people have said, and it sounds weird at first, but it makes so much more sense when you realize that you really shouldn't need to have someone tell you that you are a good person for you to actually be a good person. You don't need to be dependent on somebody for you to feel like you are enough. Okay, so if you are trying to figure out yourself, it's going to take some time figuring out your natural, normal schedule. And then you're going to figure out a routine that works for you. So doing 2 chores a day so that you can change your schedule and the routines and habits. The other one is work. I don't know why I put this down, but I had someone tell me that what I do doesn't matter as a teacher because he was an entrepreneur. And I was proud of myself for being a teacher. And how he treated me with disrespect, how he talked to me, how he thought about my pay, it just got to me. And in the end, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a highly sensitive person, which makes me great at my job, like really good. I mean, the janitor was like, "Oh, you must be really busy." I'm like, "No, I'm just working. There's stuff to do." Just high energy. I've had co-workers say, "Well, wow, you're really creative." And I often hear this too. Man, like when something happens, you just go right off and do it. Nothing stops you. And I'm like, well, the changes just happened. Like we got protocol that we can't do something like how we normally do it. What do you want me to do? I gotta go forward and change, just change it because you can't go back. So if you are working in a field, let's just say, for example, janitor. I knew a guy who was a janitor and he loved his job. Didn't care about people's opinions of him, didn't care about the pay. Every morning when I would go to play my violin, it was the only place I could practice, and I would get self-conscious people hearing, he would be there too. He would ask me about playing and I'd ask him about guitar, but when he would go through the halls, he would sing as if he was on a stage. Something about how he worked and the way he worked for him. So whoever you are, if your skill matches that job, that's great. You don't need anyone else's opinion of who you are, what you do to validate who you are. You are enough. You are already magic. If you feel like you're giving your all, the analogy before, giving your all to everybody else, and now like there's nothing left of you, again, you can still find a way to grow. Okay, I'm not going to go into this again. Okay, watch the video again in the beginning. The last thing is time and media. I could hear them pounding. Okay. It's really easy to get lost in comparisons of social media. I've seen 2 people kind of drive themselves kind of crazy and ruin, as in break off relationships because they felt like they weren't measuring up to something. You're not doing this, projecting because they didn't feel like they were doing it. And media, if you were to break away from it, it's freeing. But what happens if you do want to use it? So this is my, you could do this, you don't have to do this, it's up to you. I feel bad if I go onto Pinterest and I'm like, I'm wasting my life. I could be productive getting money right now, making a YouTube video. So I try to be productive and say, okay, if I'm looking at something and saving it to a board, how am I going to use this in the future? Oh, I'm saving things into a funny section. Okay, so when I have a bad mood one day, then I could use this later on. Or I have things on how to sew. Or, Christmas, like presents and ideas for, when I'm late on ideas. Or I love Avatar, The Last Airbender. So I have a board that's called Elements, but it's more because it's for my story. I just got carried away and put Avatar stuff on there. So when you're doing stuff on media, make that time work for you. So when I was living by myself, I was afraid that I wouldn't have access to the great courses. And like I mentioned, nonverbal communication, make stress work for you, the magic or the science of mindfulness. I made sure that every day after school, AKA my work, I would watch TV, as in take these classes and take notes. So for those students who are like, I suck at taking tests. Hello, me too. Just got to try different ways. And what a teacher told me, sorry, this is a long story. He said that he had gone to like 5 different schools and, it just didn't work out for him. And what he told me, so he's one of my favorite teachers, is as you read, you write down the words, the highlighted parts, and that way you don't have to reread to get the notes again. You're actively using your time efficiently and you don't have to go back. Like I shared with you guys the notes that I took on this class on my Instagram about stress relieving courses, about that's other book I'd read, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Other people that are really beneficial are people like Brene Brown. Yes, it is very, Benjamin mentioned it's hard to work today because of COVID. Yes, I'm working from home. I would normally be in class right now, but we've got parent-teacher conferences and I can hear the kids screaming and yelling outside because their schools are not in session. Being isolated, you feel like you don't really have a chance to feel sane. All the days start to mesh together. And it's hard. So that's why I'm saying make use of your time. Before COVID, I was living by myself. So I was kind of in quarantine already. And I wanted to, by the time everyone is stressed out, I had already figured some stuff out. I was already on my schedule. And when COVID hit, I was on my routine of what I wanted to change. And that actually leads me to the next thing. Save money and time. Thank you, Benjamin. Last week on Legend of Korra. All right. Save money and time. So if you are in COVID quarantine, you could sit there and be like, you know what? When I go out, I'm going to buy those Star Wars orchestra, live play while we watch the movie tickets. Those look fun. But then when you're stuck inside, you're like, okay, if I only had to do one thing, if I could just do one thing, would I spend my money on that? Because you're spending apartment bills and food and maybe you were out of work because of COVID. You want to make sure that your money goes a long way. So in order to save, take time to figure out you doing you, what you really want to do. Not because people are saying it's the cool thing to do or the in thing or the popular thing. That helps you get lost a little bit more. Figure out if you would spend that money on it. I go to some orchestras sometimes. I don't really spend money on concerts. But when I go, I look specifically at the violinists and I'm trying to learn. That's just me being productive with my time and making sure that my dollar goes a long way. But that's just me personally. You do you, whatever works. And then slow with goals, as in one of the things, and I'll just hold this up, I guess. One of the things that I learned, my mind's scattered. All right, name it to tame it. One of the goals that I realized is that I am messy. People will say that I'm messy because I'm an artist, but there's even a limit to how messy I am. And when people complain, that I'm messy, I always ask, did you clean the toilet? Right? Because you can sit there and say that I'm messy, but I'm always the one cleaning the toilet every place that I've lived. Don't sit there and criticize someone if you haven't done the work, because chances are you're using that facility as well. So I forgot my point. All right. Okay. Basically, for example, my goal one year, this is embarrassing, but hope it helps. I didn't realize why I was smelling. And I wanted my resolution that year was to smell better. And by the end of the year, I was not trying to focus so much on this. By the end of the year, I decided to try vegan stuff. And now I'm more flexitarian than anything. But I cook constantly vegan because it's just easier. I got in the habit of doing it for so long that now it's part of my routine and my schedule. Some of the recipes are non-negotiables because they're easy. This is also something else as well. When we label ourselves, sometimes we genderize ourselves. Something I learned in class, take it or leave it, is that moms will try to raise their kids, blah, blah, right? And the thing I read in class, for classes, for credits, In a book, it said like dads are normally the ones to judge your eyes, which means, oh, you're a girl, you don't do this. You're a boy, you don't do this. And this is ingrained in kids to the point where they start acting like this when they're 2 and 3. So it's kind of just really sad. So an example would be you are living and you're thinking, I've got to make sure that I cook something delicious and a variety every day, right? And if I don't, then I'm not going to be efficient later on. You're telling yourself, you're putting clay all over your gold statue self. And when you like, you're trying to figure out your schedule. And then when you realize what actually works for you, what I found out is that, like I actually only have time to make simple things, rice or spaghetti. Maybe sometimes I'll switch it up so that I could add seasoning on it or make it red sauce or green sauce, but not having so many things to do and think about and variety, just keeping it simple worked for my schedule. And sometimes we can't really do us if we're sitting there saying, well, I have to do this because I am, this occupation, this religion, this, female or this race or whatever. So you kind of stress yourself out and waste more time. And it's a long video, sorry guys. Okay, the last thing I'll say is something that we learned in violin. The slower your practice, and this relates to my vegan stuff, the goal stuff, the slower you practice, the better you practice, the better you get at it. I told the kids in class today that if you have to write your answer slowly, you're already done, you just want to go, make sure you're doing your best work. If you write slow, like write really well, even if it's slow, then when you get older, you can write your notes and it won't look like chicken scratch. I do not like it when boys in my class say, well, this girl write it? She's got better handwriting. It's because she practices. And that's the same thing with your goals. Like my goal when I was living by myself was nothing in the sink. That took months for me to like have nothing in the sink by the time I go to bed. And then I switched it up to nothing on the counter. All right, now my thing is 2 chores a day. Okay, I'm trying to be less messy, but it's still a process. The whole smelling weird thing. Then trying to, and here's something else as well. My resolution one year was to work out. But I wanted to be efficient with my time. So I made this resolution in my head in like November, months before January, before resolutions would hit. And I told myself, I want to work out so that I am efficient and actually doing it hard. But if I'm going from not working out at all, I need to give into it a little bit. So that means making sure that I set up a time in my schedule every day, making sure that I know where I'm going, how long it takes to get there, and put that in my time. Making sure that I just practice some stretches in the beginning and that, be able to get the endurance so that by the time January came, when I say I'm working out, I have a schedule. I'm switching between cardio and flexibility and endurance and like fun day, like dancing and stuff, making it fun for you. So you're more likely to go back. This is why a lot of people don't like workouts and why I keep going back to hula hooping. Something I figured out in my schedule is that I like to sing, but sometimes when I do chores, I sing. And I tried to do what Ariana Grande does. I don't do this because she does it. I just heard about it. When I hear a song, I try to match the pitch so that I feel good that I'm getting better at singing. It's not for anybody else. But sometimes in order to do the hard stuff in life, like chores, I'll do that. If you are a procrastinator, like I know I'm getting to the end of my video and I guess I'm just getting scared and like bringing up as much as I can. If you are a procrastinator, say that you're just talking to a friend or doing something random and then this thought pops into your head. Finances, money, how are you going to get it? You need to spend the bills and it's not fun. So you sit there and go, you know what? I'll do it. I'll figure it out when I feel better, when I'm in a better mood to do it. But why would you lower your emotions when you're feeling good? So the book recommended the procrastination equation. The next time you have that thought, focus on only 2 minutes, so you can time yourself, and focus on working at it proactively. That way, the next time it pops in your head, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm stressed out, because you already realize that you've got a little bit underway. Another thing, like I mentioned in my other live stream video, is that if you do something for 2 minutes, it gets easier to do. You just got to put that work in. One of my students is like, I don't want to work on it. I'm like, just, work on it for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, I couldn't get her to pay attention because she was so focused. So just give yourself that time, even if it's slow in the beginning. And because this is the last part of the video, want to make sure I got everything, magic and all that stuff. I just wanted to share this. Hang on. I did this for the preschoolers. I didn't have to go out of my way and make sure G's string and everything matched, and they had a bridge and color strings and stuff, and it was supported. But I just want to share with you that, again, if you are slowly practicing, you might think that you're progressing not as well or good or better as everybody else, but you're still doing it. If you were to do something for 2 minutes every day, your hobby, your skill, researching, to make use of your time, you're more likely to get where your goal is. If you set your goals and you know where you're going, you're more likely to get there than you are if you didn't trust your emotions. You weren't honest with yourself about how stressed you are. You were afraid of doing the hard things with procrastination. I guess I just don't want to say bye and end this, but I'm just thinking there's something else about procrastination. Oh, that's what it is. There are 2 types of addictions, and say that we're talking about finances again, and say that we're talking about parties. There's 2 different ones. One is negative reinforcement. The other one's positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement are addictions like drugs, alcohol, overeating, because you're trying to put something positive in your spot, your mindset, so that you don't have to worry about the thing that's making you feel negative. Negative reinforcement is when something is supposed to be happy, but your experience and encounter with it is negative. So you try to take yourself out of the equation so you could actually control the positive mindset. This is things like anxiety, not wanting to go out and see people and hang out. Something they say in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is 2 things I'll just bring up. One, your anxiety sometimes is overplayed so much in your head. Sometimes it's okay to, a method they say is to accept, okay, I might lose my job, I might lose my house, and then the whole world's gonna implode on itself. Get as crazy as you can. Because then you realize when you actually face it, it's not as bad. That's one thing to do. Oh, thank you. 2 minutes. Perfect. Yes. All right. I was like, what does that mean? Sorry, guys. Comment section. To just face your anxiety and realize it's not going to be as bad. Another thing they said in CBT was that a lot of the people that go into anger management are males, but a lot of the males don't have anger management. Societally, they're told that they only can express anger. So what they're really feeling is sadness because they're told they can't be confused. And you know what? Life is confusing. So admitting to yourself, being honest with yourself about what you're going through and facing it. So the negative reinforcement and the positive reinforcement is if you have gone to parties and it's not gone well for you in the past, something that should be happy. And then you tell yourself, I don't want to go out and hang out with people or go to this place because I'm always going to be questioned and ridiculed and labeled. I'm going to stay inside where I know I can be happy and do my own thing and find my own space. It's good to be independent, but then you're not living life, So the next time you see a book, the next time you see a blanket, the next time you think about a party, your reinforcement is to go back into that habit of negative reinforcement. Now, positive reinforcement. That's when you have to do those bills, that hard conversation, that what have you. And instead of focusing on it, because, procrastination, you say, you know what, I'm just going to drink alcohol because I want to get my mind off of it and make this project easier to do. Or I'm going to go and do drugs or whatever because at least I have a social group whenever I do that. Or I'm going to go to a party because that's better than the hard thing I have to do. And so you put yourself in positive stuff. So the next time you see a cigarette, your brain snaps and goes, oh, okay, I want to do that thing. Again, you guys, honestly, the resources I provided, the books, the classes, the channels on YouTube, those are things I've learned from that could help explain this a lot more and a lot further. Making use of your time. If you're stressed, read books on stress or how to deal with it, and you might find they talk about emotions as well. So again, 40 minutes. I kind of want to wait 2 more minutes so that it's 42 minutes, because that's the answer to life, 42. But I really just wanted to make this video because I wanted to kind of share with everybody a growth mindset requires you to see that you are human. There might be days where things happen to you, like bugs on your plant, or sorry, my mind right now is jumping to like, this is taking too long and people are not going to watch this. To find your own identity by finding what works for you, away from the labels, away from people's comments, away from trying to fit a mold or a label or, you know, your gender, your religion, whatever it is. And something that I've learned in this podcast, I didn't mention it too, but it's called Just Break Up. They've mentioned that you will never know yourself. Every day you're learning, every day you're growing. You cannot sit there and ask yourself, what if this happened? What if I had done this? Would this have been better? Because you're not there right now. You're in the present moment. And all we could do is try to do the best that we can. So again, sorry, I'll hold it up again. You are magic, because even if you feel burnt out, you can still grow. When things happen to you, you don't have to kill the whole plant. You could just learn how to process it, still save yourself and still grow. Admit what you're going through and be honest, because it builds up trust and respect in yourself and others. Do your own thing and do you without everyone's expectations or labels, because life is short. And have boundaries, because that's self-love and self-compassion. And it might feel selfish, but it's not. It really isn't. Better to find yourself and what works for you, what works in your schedule, what you need to change, what you want to work on, or who you are based off your skill. And to be by yourself, to figure out yourself and make use of your time and your money with COVID and stuff, by trying to make use of the media around you. So again, that's all. All right. I'm just going to end this because I don't know a good way to end it. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Taco Tuesday, watching Avatar, and have a great one. All right. Bye, guys.